It's 2024, everybody. We're actually going to review a Mad Max movie that has Mad Max in it. Alright, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1981 to look at what could be potentially the perfect example of the perfect action movie. We're talking about Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. But before we go any further, before we dig into this gem anymore, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
This is what it has come to.
Look! Out there! They're coming back! Come on! Move it!
Here is where it shall be decided.
Here it is. Greetings from the Humungus.
In a world without gas.
The Humungus rules the wasteland.
I'm gravely disappointed that you wish to take the gasoline out of the wasteland.
Defend the fuel.
We'll never walk away!
Give me the pump, the gasoline, the whole compound.
This is a land that prays for a hero.
Well, if anyone's gonna get in there, it's gonna be you.
This is Mad Max 2. Max,
It's a long time since I've seen driving like that, man.
the warrior of the road.
You're okay by me, pal.
Gotta hand it to you, Treasure. The last of the V8 interceptors.
Every day we get weaker while they get stronger.
You want to get out of here? You talk to me. Now, to do the job, I need some high-octane gasoline. Got yourself a deal.
You can run, but you can't hide!
You're gonna crash or crash through?
I was wrong about you. I'm sorry.
When it's every man for himself. And there's no place left to run. When all that's left is one last chance. Pray that he's still out there. Somewhere. Mad Max 2.
Alright, this motion picture, of course, was directed by George Miller, who did this, who did the original Mad Max, who did Fury Road, who did Furiosa, and who did Beyond Thunderdome. Obviously, but he's done other things. We're talking about The Witches of Eastwick. We're talking about Lorenzo's Oil, and Happy Feet 1 and 2, and Babe, Pig in the City, and 3,000 Years of Longing. And he also did like a segment of the Twilight Zone movie. Remember that motion picture? Came, went, had some tragedies. Was what it was. Anyway, that's a track record. Let's keep moving. Playing next, Rockatansky. The one and only Mel Gibson. Let's run through the numbers. We're talking about, obviously, he was in this. Obviously, he was in Beyond Thunderdome. And obviously, he was in the original. But he's been in other things, too. We're talking about The Year of Living Dangerously. We're talking about he was in The Bounty and Tim and Maverick and The River and Bird on a Wire and Braveheart and Signs and We Were Soldiers and What Women Want and Air America and Tequila Sunrise and Forever Young and Hamlet. And, of course, he was in the Lethal Weapon series. And probably like 20 things I can't remember off the top of my head. It doesn't make a difference. Big career, long career. There you go. Playing the Gyro captain, the one and only Bruce Spence. Let's run the numbers. We're talking about he was in Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, and Beyond Thunderdome, and Dark City, and Australian TV. You know, The Dearest Enemy, and Bullpit, and Return to Jupiter, and Legend of the Seeker, and certain women, that was it, and Something in the Air, and a bunch of other things. You know, he did a lot of TV work, and some movies too. Was what it was. Let's keep moving. Playing Wes of the Mighty Mohawk, Vernon Wells. You know him. You love him. Let's talk about it. We're talking he was in Weird Science. We're talking about he was in Commando and Inner Space and Fortress and Last Man Standing and American Eagle and Space Truckers, Hollywood Confidential, World's End, Jurassic City, The Sector, Kiss of Death. It's Vernon Wells. This Commando and Weird Science is all you really need to know. The rest is just shit on the cake. You know what I mean? It's just frosting. Playing Pappagallo, Michael Preston. Did some singing, did some acting. Let's take a look. A lot of TV work. Here's we go. We're talking about he was in stuff like Homicide and Bellbird and MPSIB and the A-Team and Airwolf and Remington Steele and Fame and The Facts of Life and Highlander and Renegade and Law and Order and Jake and the Fat Man. I don't think they're going to get away with naming a TV show that this day. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. He was in a bunch of TV shows. He was around. You might not know his name and his face, but anybody who's seen this, you know him. All right, everybody, we're going to try to do this in 90 seconds or less so we can get short, keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, and we will get to, you know, that other spot in this thing, the summation. Let's roll. The motion picture starts out with some narration, actually, which is going to be done by the feral kid, but you'll figure that out later. It doesn't really make a difference. Let's get rolling. It kind of gives you the backstory. The world went to war. Everybody was fighting over oil. Societies fell. They tried to rebuild civilization. Shit fell apart. Max was a cop. Tried to live in society. His family was killed. Now he's out in the outland, and he is just running with the animals. And the motion picture starts off with you see him running with the animals or running from them. One of the guys in there is Wes himself, Vernon Wells, with his buddy on the back seat, and they are chasing him down. But, you know, Max, that tough genius that he is, he gets away. Is what it is, was what it does. But, kind of makes a lasting impression on Mr. Vernon Wells, and kind of remembers him. Anyway, moments later, Maximilian himself comes across a helicopter thing, Gyro, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's kind of left in the desert. He goes over to take a look, and there's a snake on it. He's like, haha, free feeds, free foods, free meats, whatever. But it's a trap. The gyro captain is under the ground. He comes out. He attacks Max. Oh, wow. Max, though, gets away. He's going to attack. Well, I wouldn't say get away. His dog saved his ass. It is what it is. But Max himself takes this guy. He's about to slit his throat. And the guy says, I know where there's all the juice you can carry. All the gasoline you can muster. All the shit you can find. I'll show it if you don't. Off me. Well, off they go. And they're on a ridge. And they're looking at this refinery in the middle of the desert. Ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. And it is making gasoline. But around it is a horde of lunatics, psychopaths, killers, madmen led by one. Humungus. The Lord Humungus. Anyway, doesn't make a difference. They see people. They try to escape. These people that try to escape, they're murdered. They're killed. They're raped. They're slaughtered. It is what it is. Everybody's horrified. Well, Max doesn't really seem to give a shit, but it is what it is. At that moment, he says to himself, I got me a plan. I'm going to go down, rescue one of these dudes, deliver it back to his buddies, and they will give me all the gasoline I need to get the hell out of town. Or at least he makes a deal with that guy. So he does just such. Goes, rescues the guy, brings him back to the village to go get that free tank of gas, and they say, hey man, your deal died with him. You're a shit out of luck. But Max says, whoa, 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 I can work this out for you. I know where there's a big rig. I seen it in the beginning of the movie. It will haul your tanker of gas the hell out of here, which is what you need. I can go get it for you if you give me my car and you give me my gas. Sounds like a deal to them. They send Max out. Max gets the truck. He's driving back. They're all chasing him. Is what it is. He makes it back to the fortress. Then he helps the people to fight off the horde. And they're all like, oh, our savior's here. Our new hero. Our new buddy. And he says, I don't give a shit about you people. I'm out of here. Fill up my car. I'm gone. He leaves. When he leaves, well, not much of a chase or anything takes place, but they knock him off the road. Max finally makes it back to the village, all beat up and battered, and his car is gone, and they killed his dog, for fuck's sake. It's horrible. It's horrific. And he says, hey, I know you're going to escape, but I can drive that tanker. And they're like, hey, you look like shit. I don't think you can pull it off. He's like, hey, I'm all you got. So they take him. Boom. They go on their way. Max, and well, the leader of the group, Pappagallo, whatever, they head off in the truck. And then all the rest of the people run in their regular vehicles to the other side of the desert to get the hell out of there. for safety. So, sets up the big end of the motion picture. You have Max, a few others, and the leader, and they run off into this crowd of lunatics. And at the same time, all the villagers that live inside this fortress, whatever you want to call it, they go the other way to escape to this mystical paradise that doesn't exist. That's about the whole story, folks. I mean, we made that much more than that. Alright, everybody, does Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, as we mostly call it, work? Yeah, it works. It's one of the great action flicks of all times. It's one of the things when you think of Mel Gibson, you think of this motion picture. It's just the way it is. And as far as sequels go, by the way, this is a worthy successor, if not even beats the original. Very possibly might. We are talking, this is a legendary flick. It spawned a million imitators. Okay, we'll get back to all that. Whatever. Let's get the big three out of the way. The directing, it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous movie to look at, especially for this kind of motion picture. It just works. The photos I'm even putting up on the screen aren't going to do it justice. You got to see the motion picture. You'll see what I mean. It's good to look at, plain and simple. The writing, it's written well enough to keep the motion picture moving. A movie like this does not live in the world of dialogue. There isn't that much speech, but what has to be said is said, and what is said, well, it kind of works. That's all you need to know. And the acting, come on. It's done just right. Max is perfect with Mel Gibson playing the role. Just the way it goes. Michael Preston does a great job. And everybody else just nails it. Spence is great as a Gyro captain. Everybody else adds the right seriousness with humor mixed in to the world that they live in. Because let's be honest. This motion picture has some humor in it. But it's dark humor. It's goofy humor. It's the kind of shit that would really make you laugh in the real world. So it is what it is. The acting, you don't need anymore. Now what works about this thing? Let's roll again. It's just a spot-on, perfect action flick. First off, the pacing is perfect. It's action, scene, dialogue, action, scene. It rolls at a perfect pace. It gives you a vibe that also does not change through the whole motion picture. Let me state that again. This motion picture is dark. It is bleak. There is nothing really to smile about or cheer about. It's a dark motion picture. Yes, you're rooting for Max Rockatansky to help these dudes out and do whatever the hell he's going to do. But there is no feel-good moment at the end of this thing. You know there's going to be no happy mountain on the side of the hill where there's an oasis and everybody lands up. That doesn't exist in this world. It doesn't exist in this universe. This is a bleak movie that stays bleak and true to itself, much like The Thing did, but Carpenter did, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 70s. This is a bleak film. It's dark. It's cold, it's callous, it's heartless. And what makes it work is that that's what most of the characters are, especially one Max Rockatansky. Yes, he is. In this motion picture, folks, he's not the guy you remember from the original one. He's a broken man, a shell of a guy. He doesn't give a shit about anybody. In the beginning of the motion picture, you see him. He opens that trailer door after escaping from the first attack, and a dead body falls out in front of him, all grotesque and bloated, and the eyes are hanging out and everything like that. He doesn't react to it. He just looks at it with no emotion, just like this is nothing to him. It doesn't mean anything. He picks up that little music box, and you see him almost more amused by that. The carnage of humanity and people dying is completely awash on this guy. Even when he goes and he rescues that guy, he runs down there, and the guy's got a couple arrows in him, and he just watched his girlfriend, lady, whoever it was, get murdered and raped in the whole 9 yards. Max runs down there because he sees an opportunity, and the guy goes, "Thank you," and Max goes, "Save it. I'm just here for the gas." Basically says to the guy, "I don't give a shit if you live or you die. None of this means anything to me. I don't care about any of you people. I'm here for gasoline." And he stays true to that basically through the entire motion picture. Yes, the Pappagallo character brings out of him a little humanity when he says, "We've lost family too. You're not the only one," and all this other kind of stuff. But really, right up until the end, you're not totally sure if he's doing this out of revenge against that group of guys who killed his dog. What did John Wick teach you? You never fuck with a man's dog. Or is it just something he needed to do for himself, or some kind of a I can pull this off thing? You never really get the idea that he's doing it because he's so in love with these villagers or he cares about them or anything like that. That never really is hinted at or brought about. He just says, I'm going to do this. And basically you guys aren't stopping me. So his character is really a cold, broken down version of what he used to be. And they keep true to that. He's a dark character, folks. He's not really heroic. He's the guy you're rooting for, but he's not heroic. And he goes out and he does what he needs to do to keep this motion picture going and to keep you glued to your friggin' seat. Also, this was done in a time before CGI and any of that bullshit. This is the way a motion picture should be made. They went out to the desert with a bunch of messed up vehicles that we can all relate to. Not the super modded crap they put in some of the new Mad Max flicks, but a bunch of things that look like, hey, I can almost see where this came from. Hey, there's an F-150 pickup truck with some shit thrown on it. I get it. Whatever. It was one of those motion pictures that was just like down and dirty, and we're going to go out to the desert. We're going to film this crazy goddamn flick. We're going to a bunch of stuntmen, some okay actors surrounding the star, and we're going to make a motion picture on the dirty and make it memorable. And it was. You were glued to your seat. The action felt real. The scenes felt visceral. Everything about it kept you interested. It wasn't a CGI fest. It wasn't all the bullshit that they would throw in there now. It was the kind of motion picture you're like, whoa, this, I feel like I'm there. This seems like I'm there. They did it on the reel to make you feel like this insane world that they've created could be real. And it worked. Also, let's throw in there that the soundtrack, the score, whatever you want to call it, was fairly decent. You know what I mean? It was done by Brian May. Not Brian May of Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody, but a different Brian May of the same name. And he really did a good job at this. They threw it on a little bit heavy at certain scenes when they would see something about and it would hit in, but it really just hammered home that feel and that vibe of that kind of a motion picture. So, a nod in that direction too. Soundtrack, all right. Now, does this motion picture have a few flaws? Of course it does. What motion picture doesn't have a few flaws? But they're kind of flaws where you're just like, I can live with this. I mean, honestly, how are all these guys that are the bad guys surrounding this place just to get in and get the gasoline, keeping this motorcade of theirs moving? I mean, there's like 100 vehicles in the goddamn thing. There's no tanker truck refueling them. They're in the middle of nowhere, yet they're all driving around with these things, chasing everybody and doing everything. You're like, you guys are going for like 300 gallons of gas a minute with all these vehicles. Where are you getting this shit from? But you overlook it. And why are they all dressed, well, at least a good portion of them, in like this weird sadomastic bondage gear? I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're out in the Australian desert. Is wearing leather friggin' crotch pants and shit just... I don't know. I don't know. It's a look. It's a memorable look. It makes an impression. But what? And finally, Lord Humungus. I mean, we all love Lord Humungus. Let's knock off the shit. But where are they having a rolling gymnasium so this guy can get that big? As his head is like decaying from nuclear, whatever the fuck is wrong with this guy. I don't know. But, really? My man's kind of jacked to be living in the outback. You know what I'm saying? Where does he get the time? Where does he get the energy? How's he healthy? So, of course, there are problems with the motion picture when you hit these laps of logic. But really, you overlook them because you're saying, hey, we're in the world gone crazy. I mean, crazier than the world we live in now, but we're in the world gone crazy, where there's no law, there's no anything, and it's just every man for himself. So, is some weird shit going to take place? Yeah. You just learn to live with it and say, I guess everybody's going to spend a lot of time giving each other mohawks and dressing in bondage gear and doing other weird shit when there's nothing else going on. Hey, Nintendos don't work in the future. All right, everybody, get out there and see The Road Warrior. Honestly, it launched a million imitators. I mean, all through the 80s, there was like 65 friggin' flicks that just basically copied this motion picture. It was all kinds of wasteland movies. There was all kinds of people on motorcycles. There was all kinds of stupid shit taking place. It was what it was. It's classic. It's beloved. Everybody remembers it. Everybody had a good time seeing it. It spawned a million imitators, and it stays true to itself. It stays what it was meant to be, and it stays what it should have been. A bleak, stark action movie that never relents, never apologizes, and never wanders from what it's supposed to be. And I'm going to say this now, and it might piss some people off. This franchise, the Mad Max franchise, the George Miller franchise, is basically going to die in the water unless they get Mel Gibson back somehow. Yes, we all enjoyed Fury Road, but we were starving for something at that point. It came back, it did what it did. It was all right. It was a good movie. Visually beautiful. Whatever. It did what it did. The new one, people just ain't going to buy it no more, man. You need a branch system. You need something like Stallone did in the Creed flicks, where he comes in and he says, I'm going to be here and launch the thing so it can go on without me in the future, but I'm going to be the old Rocky, I'm going to be the old man guiding you into the new series. And they needed Mel Gibson for that. But they don't have him. And George Miller says he doesn't have any ideas how to put an old Max Rockatansky in a movie. Well, dude, you got to find one. It ain't going to work without him. Mad Max and Mel Gibson are as intertwined as bread and butter, peanut butter and jelly, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. It is what it is. Something to think about. Anyway, everybody, be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to a stranger. Be there for a friend. But most of all, never, ever take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.